All right, let's get started. First off, I'm assuming you guys all have like the VS Code and know these things. Let's go like open up CMD and then terminal and then projects folder wherever you keep all your code. And go ahead and run this command. This should be pre-installed if you haven't known. It's the npx command. It's gonna call node create React app. It's gonna create like a sample React app. It has to be like further code in the start that we're gonna probably describe. Yeah, so now we can cd into the folder. And now the next command is the on the dock. If you guys have the dock open, we're gonna install Tailwind CSS. That's what we're gonna use it for the styling. So this is also gonna take a bit. Actually, no, it's fast. And then Tailwind CSS in it. What that's gonna do is it's gonna create a file in the structure. Now we can like open up VS Code by typing code space period. So yeah, the Tailwind CSS init command, it's just created this file tailwind config.js. But we also have to do open up the source. The Tailwind config.js file, and we're gonna add this line. Source slash JSXTS. So that's going to apply the styling to any file that fits this pattern. And now source that index CSS at the top, we're going to import these three things: Tailwind, Tailwind components, Tailwind utilities. Now we can go ahead and type npm run start.
Yeah, by the way, if you're like worried about like online or whatever, the doc is in the Discord.
So cool. Now we have a sample web page running. This is all done with the create app command. So you can go to the app.js file. That's where you'll see all the code that has this running. We can go ahead and replace it. Say let's add a heading. Let's say hello world. Right. So now if we go back, you see it says hello world in the site. So if anything about node and React with the npm run start commands, it's gonna update automatically every time you save. So I have like auto save turned on in VS Code. So pretty much any type I type, it's gonna update the actual browser. Yeah, so clear out everything in the app as we don't need like full code. We can remove the stop line at the top as well. Let's go ahead and import state from the React. And we'll explain what view state means, but that's something we're going to use in our other components as well. So now, what we're going to do is create 3 games. So we can say constant games equals tic-tac-toe. The second game is going to be rock, paper, scissors. And then the third game is going to be hangman. I don't know if we'll get to hangman in time, but if we don't, we'll just copy paste it from the GitHub repository. We'll constant current game. And we're going to do set current game. So all the view state commands are going to look something like this format. So this is pretty much like a getter variable. This is like a setter function. So every time we need to update the value of current game, we call set current game and then fill it in with whatever value we want. So now let's go back here to the main divs that's being returned. Let's create 2 more divs. Let's put the heading inside the first div. And the second div, we're going to leave it empty for now. Right. Let's change the heading to say choose a game. And now we can go back and change it to choose a game. But this right now is just black on white. That doesn't look great, so we're going to add some styling. So something that Tailwind does is instead of going here and assigning a class name to the div, and then creating like a separate CSS file, and then typing all your styling there, we can do that. Like go back to index, sorry, app.js, right? We're gonna say background slate 200. Slate is just a color, and it's gonna apply background to the entire thing. Right, so the background right now is only for that. Let's see. Last name. You gotta set the height variable to screen. Um, let's see. Reporting is, oh, we got one thing, dot slash source. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, the entire component has a background. You can see if we remove the height screen command, it's only going to take the height of like the heading. So we want height to take up the entire screen. Now we also want to center the text. And the text and app is going to be centered, and this color of the text teal. Right, and now it's also apply some styling to the heading as well. Let's say text 4 extra large font bold. Padding on the top is 4, so it looks something like that. Right, so you can see where Tailwind comes in handy. It's way simpler than like assigning a name with a class name for everything, and then creating like a CSS file and then all that stuff. So now what we can do next is we have a games available. Let's go ahead and map all of those games to a respective button. So let's go ahead and use the map command. Let's create a button variable. Right. Let's give it a key value of game, and then let's assign the game name in there. Oh, that one we're to see. Right, so you can see tic-tac-toe, rock, paper, scissors, hangman, and there's no styling on them because Tailwind, like by default, takes all the styling. So we're gonna go ahead and add some styling. We're gonna say class name equals button. Oh, right. And these things, these curly braces and the backtick, this is not like a single quote, this is a backtick. So that means something else. That means you can like apply object litters inside the code. It's going to come in handy later. We're going to like show you that. And now button is not a class defined by Tailwind, so we have to define that in the app.css file. So button, and we're going to use the apply directive. Let's give it a margin at the top of 4. An X margin of 2, padding of 4, padding of 2. Make the text bold, right, rounded, shadow, add a blue background, and then add a hover element as well. All right, so now let's go back. All the buttons are click something like this, right? When you hover over them, they change background. So tell them like that like really easy. Now we can go back here. Let's say if the current game is game, then we're gonna set the background. We're gonna do something like a bit fancy to just demonstrate what Tailwind can do. Let's do a background gradient to all from purple to pink. Also, if you notice, all the colors have a number after it. So 100 is going to be super light, and then 900 is going to be super dark. And what you can have to do is, if you have the Tailwind extension that I mentioned in the chat, is you can just hover over and see exactly what styles it's applying. So now, buttons don't do anything because we haven't like set what kind of game equals. So let's say on click, so this is gonna activate every time the button is clicked. Let's set the current game to the game of the button. So now let's see. Cool. So now every time we click a button, it's setting the current game to rock, paper, scissors, to hangman, to tic-tac-toe. And it's applying styles respectively. So set current game is what we define here in the use state variable. So that's how you update the state and then it renders automatically. Now it's also display game in the second div. We got to define a function here. Let's call it constant render game. Let's say switch case, current game. If it's tic-tac-toe, let's return heading of tic-tac-toe. If it's rock, paper, scissors, let's return heading that says rock, paper, scissors. If it's hangman, let's return hangman. And then otherwise, let's just return nothing. Cool. And now we need to put that in the second div here. Let's call it render game. And also let's add some margin here as well. Y16. So cool. Now every time we click a button, it's going to display the game here. This is right now just a placeholder for when we actually implement the game. So now let's start with that first game. So source folder, create a new file. Let's call it rock, paper, scissors.js. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we should shoot for like one thing. Like two.
Okay. Let me know if you need me to slow down or anything, if you want to see my code. By the way, everything is in the docs if you want to like just copy paste instead of type it all out. All right, I'm gonna go to the rock, paper, scissors. So another thing in the extension that I mentioned, IMRS, SFC, they're just like shortcuts to add all this code automatically. Rock, paper, scissors. So go ahead and type this code out. You guys need to go back to app.js or anything?
Snippet, what letters you type for this?
You
You know what I'm saying?
snippets?
Like we, for the import, it's not that important that it's like copy paste it, but you know what I'm saying, like you check the keys in the Tailwind, the imports.
Tailwind config that. We're talking about this.
No, they're.
Yeah, so these are Tailwind directives. I don't know exactly what they do, but they pretty much just add all the class files to the current project from Tailwind.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about use state.
Yeah.
Are you asking me what they do?
No, like you type a few keys and then the snippets, like fill it in and copy paste it. I don't know if this is actually in the rocket versus just podcast.
Okay, I see. So if you have the
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just saying, what are the keys that were the letters?
yeah, so IMRS is the first one that's going to import React and use state. And the second one is SFC. That's going to add a stateless function component. And now let's call it rock, paper, scissors. Let's go ahead and add a div. Right now we're just going to add a header that says rock, paper, scissors in there. Cool. So what this actually does is it creates a component that we can import in our app.js file. So we're going to go back to app.js. We're going to say import rock, paper, scissors from /rock, paper, scissors. Notice we don't have to put the .js in there because it automatically knows that it's a JavaScript file. Right, and now it's the components being imported properly. Now we can go here and replace heading one rock, paper, scissors with rock, paper, scissors, backslash, like that. So now every time you, I guess you can't tell here, but if we were to say rock, paper, scissors test. So the components being rendered on the main page through app.js. When I look this syntax, when I look new, but it's like pretty much shorthand for just saying rock, paper, scissors, slash rock, paper, scissors. So that's like default HTML stuff is gonna look like that. Shorthand, if you don't have like a body inside, you can just close it. Cool. So now let's go back to rock, paper, scissors like JS. Let's add a couple of options. It's gonna be rock emoji, paper emoji, scissors emoji. Let me actually copy paste these from the doc. So let's just find this outside the constant. These are the three options for rock, paper, scissors. Now we're gonna go back to our main body. Let's add some styling here. Let's do class name. Let's give it a container. Let's center it with margin X auto. Add a margin to the top. Let's also bold the text and make it large. Cool. So now it's bold instead of just normal text like the other ones. Let's display all the options as buttons, just like how we did for the tic-tac-toe, rock, paper, scissors, and so on. There's a Copilot does that for me. Let's do a grid with Flexbox, just center. Flexbox is like a CSS thing that lets you, makes it easier to center everything. Options map, again, they're using the map function. That's gonna just take all the options in the options variable. It's gonna loop through and print out a button as a key, which is a name. The class name is gonna be button, how we defined it. The body is just gonna have the option emoji. And now let's close this out. Cool. So now rock, paper, scissors will give you three options. Let's also add the option name as well so that the user can more clearly tell. Cool. So now the user has three options to choose between rock, paper, or scissors. Now let's go ahead and some variables to like handle the game logic. So player choice is going to be a use state variable. Computer choice is going to be a use state variable. We're going to say the result of the game. We're also going to have one for is the game done or not. Set game done. Use the false. Yeah, all these are null except for a game done, which is a boolean, so we're going to set that to false. Now we're also going to add a function to handle the player choice. So this is going to be called every time the user presses a button. It's going to go ahead and determine whether like what the computer choice is, and then what the like who wins. And Copilot does this often. I'm going to type it out. Anyways. Set player choice to whatever options chosen. Let's go ahead and set a variable for the computer choice. Options math.floor, math.random. This is just choosing a random number from options that I like. We can also have code in like 3, but this way is more appropriate for like a broad use case. So, and we're going to set the computer choice to that chosen choice. Now we're going to say if the player option is the same as the computer option, let's set the result to a paragraph tag that's going to say class name equals text Excel, font bold. It's a tie. Right now, we're going to say else. We're going to have three use cases, three like cases, right? So if the user option is well, and the computer choice is scissors, then the player is going to win. So let's copy that three times with three cases. So if the user chooses paper, computer chooses rock, or if the user chooses scissors and the computer chooses paper. So these are all winning conditions. Sorry, these should be two and signs, not three. Set the result to you win. And let's also make the text green. And let's just say else set result to you lose. And let's make the text red. So let's see if that works. Right. So the bunch right now, I'm doing anything because I didn't assign that hand a click anyway. All right, we should also set the game done variable to true. It's gonna be right here. Cool. So now let's add that to the button. We're gonna say on click equals handle player choice with the option name. Right. So let's go ahead. Now it's not showing anything because we haven't done anything to display the actual results. So let's go ahead and do that. Now what I'm going to do here is it's called a short circuit evaluation. So if the game is done, we're going to render the following component. Let's just test it out real quick before I go ahead and actually code it. So can anyone understand how this works? And you can say it out loud, or I can just tell you. So what JavaScript actually does is with an and statement, right? If the first variable is already true, then you need to check the second variable. If the first statement is false, then we can just leave it, right? Because the entire statement knows it's going to be false. So what a shortcut you can do in JavaScript is say that if the game is done, then we need this component, because if JavaScript sees that game is done, it's going to have to check the second conditional to see whether the entire conditional renders to true. So that's just like a cool little shortcut. It's called short circuit evaluation. You can do that with like an or to do the opposite. And now we're just going to do this. So let's say, let's set the build to extra large, margin of 2. Sorry, that's not in the div, that's in the paragraph tag. It's extra large, margin 2. And then you chose, and then let's say, not player choice, it's going to be from the options variable. Let's find the option that matches the chosen option. So name equals player choice dot emoji, and then the player choice. Cool. So this is what we want. We can just like copy paste that for the use. Sorry, the computer chose options. I find options name equals computer choice dot emoji, and then the computer choice. And then here's the result. And let's say, cool, so that's what we want, right? So it's rendering a different result each time. So that's the logic done. It's also added with the reset button as well, so that the user can play, user can clear the results and then play again. Button, class name equals button, same thing we defined earlier. On click. In this function, we're going to say, let's reset everything, right? So let's go ahead and set the player choice to null, set the computer choice to null, set result to false, and set result to null as well. Let's close that out. Let's call it reset. Let's see if that works. Cool. So now we reset everything on the screen. Yeah, so that's the rock, paper, scissors game done. And now we need to do the other two games, tic-tac-toe. Hang on. Yeah, I need it soon.
Are we, on that one? Yeah, that's fine. Do you wanna pause again? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know if you need to copy anything down for rock, paper, scissors. You guys are good? Caught up or so like cutting everything? I'm gonna go into the tic-tac-toe.js file. If you guys are still on the rock, paper, scissors.js, you can copy this from the GitHub. I think that's in the doc. Yeah, so all these files are in the GitHub. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and continue with the tic-tac-toe.js file. So same thing, same like where we started with the rock, paper, scissors file. We're gonna import React and use state. We're gonna open a component called tic-tac-toe. Let's do heading on tic-tac-toe. Class name equals.
Just, yeah, they've all pictures, you can make. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of this. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing we did for the rock, paper, scissors, but let's import tic-tac-toe component from the tic-tac-toe file. And we can also replace this with the tic-tac-toe component. Just that out. Cool. So tic-tac-toe is being rendered as well. So I'm gonna have to go a bit faster because I want to get into time. If you don't want to follow along again, you can like copy paste from the doc. Constant tic-tac-toe. Same way we set up the state variables for the last game, we're going to set up variables for the squares that make up the board. And the current player's turn. Let's say X is next, set X is next. So what this does is just creates an empty array with 9 squares, and then this sets the current turn to X. So the game is going to start off with X's turn. And now we can render the grid. Let's create a grid. Let's give it constant equals grid. 3 columns, gap of 1 in between, and a margin of 4 at the top. After each square in squares, we're going to map the current square to, we don't need the actual square reference, but we need the index of the square. Shoot. Now we're going to render a button. It's a button because the user needs to be able to click on the square. Let's do a size 16, rounded, extra large, shadow, heavy, ring. Let's color the ring teal, give it an opacity. Set a border of 2, border teal 700. And let's make the text 3XL. So add an on click event that calls the handle click function, similar to how we had it with the rock, paper, scissors. And then let's render the squares. Cool. So right now it's going to return an error because we haven't defined the handle click function yet. Another cool thing that we have to really show you the errors in real time. Let's go ahead and define the handle click function. Const handle click equals. So by the way, JavaScript's function syntax is a bit weird, but pretty much these are the parameters to the function, everything in here. So we need to know which square it is, and then everything here is the body of the function. So let's create a copy of squares. This is called the spread syntax in JavaScript. So it's going to be like an array, and then dot, 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 and then the array you want to copy it from. This is just if we were to say something like squares copy equals squares, then that's going to do a reference, which we don't want. We don't want to like change the actual value. We just want to make a copy of it. So now let's say if there's already a winner, or if the square is already filled, square is copy. Let's go ahead and like edit the function, call it return. And now let's say square is copy if the square is empty, or if there's no value currently, let's set the current value of square is copy to X if X is next, and then O if O is next. And I did some emojis for this that are in the doc. So I'm going to copy paste from there. Now if we're going to set the squares to the squares copy, and then we're going to set X is next to not X is next. That's just switching the term. X is next, and X is not next, and vice versa. And now let's go ahead and write the calculate winner function. So we're going to pass in squares, and then we're going to say just hard code all the lines. So this is the top row, it's middle row, bottom row, left column, middle column, right column, and then diagonals right here. So then we'll say for each line in the lines, we're going to say if the squares are all equal to each other in that same line, then we're just going to return that as the winner. So the square in the first element of the line. Cool. And now let's say constant winner equals calculate winner. And let's go ahead and display the winner. Winner. Actually, first, let's just check if this is all working. Cool. So now every time we click, it's going to alternate between X and O, and it's going to place that on the respective square, and that square is going to be rendered in real time. So now we don't have like a calculate winner function. Because right now it should show the X is one, right? And we already did the calculate winner function, we just need to render it on the screen. So let's say winning. This is what's called a ternary function. So just like we did with the and, this is going to be something similar. So if winner is true, then do this, else then do this. So it's like an if-else statement, pretty much. Let's say let's define a class name or a paragraph with the class names, margin top of 4. Text extra large. Let's say text green for the winning condition. Font bold. Winner wins, right? Now the same thing down here. Margin top of 4, text extra large. Let's do next player. And then if X is next, we'll say X. Otherwise, we'll say O. Let's see how that works. Cool. So now we can see whose current turn it is. If X wins, then we fill out the X wins component. And now we can't place any more squares. That's something we defined in the render square file, the handle click function. So cool, that's our tic-tac-toe game. Pretty much done. And that was kind of reset button, just like we did with the rock, paper, scissors game. So we're going to say class name equals button. On click equals. This one is easy. We just have to set the square to, and then let's call it reset. And let's close it up. Slash button. Cool. So now we have a reset button. And we have a functional tic-tac-toe game. I'm probably not going to code hangman since that's going to take a while to explain, but I can just explain it line by line. So I'm just going to copy the file from the GitHub, split hangman.js. Let's paste out all the code here. All right, let's go back to the app.js file. And let's do the same thing we did with the other ones, the other games. Let's import hangman from the hangman file. And let's render the last component. Hangman. Cool. So now we have the functioning hangman game. I can explain how it works real quick. So we imported React at the top, just like the other ones. We have a word bank here. And now we have a code that's set to like a random word within the word bank. We're going to say the current guess letters, because well, in Hangman, we want to guess the letters one by one. At the start, it's going to be their guess letters, and then as the user makes more guesses, it's going to set the guess letters. So that's handling the handle guess function. The last word, this is regex. It's going to replace all the letters with underscores if the letters not handling guess letters. Wrong guesses, it's just going to keep track of how many wrong guesses the users made. I guess is gonna say, if the current letter is not already guessed, let's go ahead and add that to guest letters. And if the word includes that guess, if the word doesn't include that guess, let's increment wrong guesses by one. If one is gonna check if the guest letters contains all the letters in the word, and then if game lost is gonna check and then we have 6 wrong guesses. Right, and this is all the styling. This is running like the wrong guesses, it's running the skull emoji like for each time the user made a wrong guess. This is just displaying the word. This function right here, that was div, is showing the letters for all options A through Z. Those are these buttons. So we had to apply some special styling to this, which is why we didn't call the button class. And if you see here, we also have like a conditional ternary. So this is going to say if the letter is guessed, let's just highlight it. Or let's color it grayed out. And then if it's not guessed, let's do this shading with a hover element as well. So on click, it's going to handle the guess. And we're going to disable it if it's already guessed. And then we have some code here to render if the game is won or if the game is lost. And then finally, we have a reset button. Cool. So now we have 3 functioning games. Does anyone need to go back to any files or anything? Or anyone want to make a guess on what the word is? I honestly have seen this code so many times, but I still don't know the word thing. Just call out a letter. Okay, I'll put you. Oh. I completely forgot what this word is. Let's go I. And that's probably a G. G. I don't know what the word is. These are like CS3 difficulties with it. C and B. Cool.
Why is it no?
Why do we not? Why would be too hard to code? I can probably code that, but that's something I'm leaving up to you guys if you want to expand on this workshop. Yeah, that's some actual credit if you want. You can like do like a man hanging as well. You guys know how to tell and work, so you could probably figure that out as well. If you want to go this code in, feel free to. I think Tailwind is really easy. Tailwind makes it like a lot easier to import all these codes. So by the way, if I haven't already showed you, you can like hover over each element to show what actually it does. So like font bold is just a class that's predefined by Tailwind that's going to say font weight 700. And Tailwind pretty much creates a class for every single CSS element, which gets pretty heavy, but what you can do is check the package. I think it's package log npm run. Is it here? Yeah. Sim package scripts. Okay, so npm has these 4 scripts you can run. So npm start is what we use to run the actual file. And now when you click npm build, when you enter that, it's going to like get rid of all the components that Tailwind didn't use. So that's going to make it really light for like actual deployment if you ever have to worry about that. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to mention. That's pretty much what Tailwind does. Another thing, I guess, that's really cool about Tailwind is the documentation is really nice. So if you point of Tailwind is that you don't have to like memorize all the CSS stuff. So if you want, you can just look up, say, how to create a breakdown in Tailwind. there's like a doc that describes exactly how to do it. So that's the cool part about Tailwind, is that you don't have to spend time memorizing CSS. You can just look everything up and then type it off really quickly. So yeah, so Roshan, I'm gonna probably stop recording there and we'll go ahead and just ask questions.